Hey everyone, how you all doing? It's your boy Sektor and welcome to a new video. As you could read in the title, today's video will be about most requested thing on the channel, and that is Enhancement Shaman rotation. So for all of you that had doubts on how to start a fight, which spell to use and stuff like that, or if you are simply new to the Shaman class, this will be a perfect video to give you an idea and help you with those basics. Before we start with the video, I'm gonna ask you to please subscribe if you didn't. It simply supports the channel a lot, and that way you will be kept in touch with the content easier. And of course, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to comment down below and I will be gladly answering that. And with that said, let's just start with the video. So, Enhancement Shaman rotation isn't really that hard, but it's always dependable on the fight. Are you fighting the melee or range? Are you in a multiple target fight? Or simply which legendary item are you using, which talents are you using, and you know, stuff like that. So overall I'm gonna be showing you the basic rotation, like which spell should you focus, when should you do any cooldown, and I'm gonna do that with two different builds. First one will be with the Witch Doctor Wolfbone and the second one will be with the Doom Winds. So for the first one I'm gonna be using this build, of course Witch Doctor's Wolfbones, following Unity on head with 4 tier set pieces, and this will be the defensive trinket that I mostly use in PvP, and if I'm not using that I'm using the this one, the Badge of Ferocity. So for the talents I'm gonna be using this, Elemental Blast, Hot Hand, Elemental Assault, Sundering Spirits, and mostly I swap between the Shamanism and Ride of Lightning, and for this pack mostly I use the Ride of Lightning, and Shamanism I save for the Doom Winds, which I'm going to be explaining later. So overall the Shaman rotation isn't that hard, as I already mentioned, and the Blizzard made it even easier with the changes that Frost Shock and Flame Shock aren't sharing the cooldown, so you can pretty much use them within the 1 to 2 seconds range. And one more good thing that Blizzard did is that when you have your Flame Shock on target and you use the Lava Lash, you're going to refresh that cooldown and even spread it on more enemies if there is more enemies. So that makes things a lot easier for us, and once we use our shocks we mostly don't need to refresh them again like we needed to do before this. So if I'm fighting against the melee, I'm always going to be starting with the Flame Shock, because simply we're going to be crashing into each other. No need for Frost Shock, it's just a waste of spell and waste of global cooldown. And if you're fighting against the range DPS and you need to chase him, then you're going to start with the Frost Shock followed by the Flame Shock, and you know the rest fight. So after you applied your shocks, no matter who you fight, the first spell that you want to do is gonna be Storm Strike, because that's the best Millstorm generation. Then after that you want to follow the rotation with Lava Lash, and as soon as you gain your 5 Millstorm stacks you want to use your Elemental Blast just to increase your stat for the next 10 seconds of fighting. So the main source as always for generating Millstorm and a good damage is always going to be Storm Strike, and that will be your #1 priority. Of course make sure that your Flame Shock is here, but as I said, with the Hot Hand talent and Lava Lash boosted, Flame Shock is always going to be there, and just in case someone managed to dispel it, then you're going to need to reapply it, and otherwise you can forget about it. So as I said, Millstorm is your main spell, followed by Lava Lash, and if you have 5 Millstorm stack, your main is Elemental Blast. If it's off cooldown, you're going to be using the Lightning Bolt, and of course if your enemy running away from you, then you're going to use a Frost Shock to slow him and, you know, chase him and kill him. And for the burst, I usually like with this pack to use the Feral Spirits at the start of the fight, because of the talents and legendary and stuff like that. Their cooldown is going to be resetted real quickly, so when I start the fight I usually try to go for kill using the spirits, gaining the Millstorm stack, applying the Elemental Blast and gaining new few Millstorm stacks. I'm using the Chain Harvest, which has very good ability to one-shot player, or at least take him the half of the HP, so that combination can be very deadly in a lot of situations. So that's how I usually open, and with all this current spec and legendary item combination that I'm using, both cooldowns of Feral Spirit and Chain Harvest will be reduced by huge amounts, so you will have them back very easily. So don't hesitate to use them at start, only if you know you are fighting mage and you need to purge his shields and stuff like that, then you won't be using them immediately, but in most situations you want to use them. So that's pretty much how I started. In case I'm using the Shamanism instead of Ride of Lightning, then I'm using it in the same time as the Feral Spirit. So I will repeat once more: Flame Shock, Storm Strike, Lava Lash, Elemental Blast with 5 Millstorm stack. Then, you know, whichever comes from the cooldown first, then with the new 5 Millstorm stack Lightning Bolt, and that's it pretty much about the basic rotation. So I'm going to show you now with Doomwind's build how you should rotate your spells. So when I'm playing the Doomwind's build, this is the spec that I'm using. Of course, Unity at the head, the same as previous, 4 tier set pieces and Doomwind's on the cloak. And the change of trinket is kind of a must. In case you are in arena fighting some really strong DPSers or casters, then you will always want to use your Cosmic Gladiator Eternal Aegis. So pretty much what I do here is base my first of all, the starting rotation is same. You always want to start with the Flame Shock or Frost Shock if you're fighting Rage. Always your Storm Strike is going to be focus, followed by Lava Lash and, you know, stuff like that. But the starting of this rotation is same, except the burst is a little bit different. So in this pack I like to divide my burst into soft burst and a hard burst. So soft burst is the burst that has only 1 minute cooldown or even less, and the hard burst is spell that has more than a minute cooldown. So for example, in soft burst I have my Doomwind's legendary, which is Wind Fury Totem, I have my Unchained Gladiator Badge of Ferocity, and I have my Shamanism spell. So at the start of the fight, of course, I open with a Flame Shock, followed by Storm Strike, you know, Lava Lash, Storm Strike again because it procs much more here, and then once I have the 5 Millstorm stack and I have my Chain Harvest ready, I pop my Shamanism up, I use my Totem and my Trinket, and I start pumping on enemy. As soon as I drop in at the half HP, I go for a kill and use my Chain Harvest, and if he's not dead, I just follow it with the Sundering, and if he's not even close to dying, then I save my Sundering for some better situation. And once I did that, in the 90% of the situation and cases, you're going to be burning your opponent all the cooldowns. So once he has his cooldowns off, then your second burst, the bigger burst, comes into play, and that is Feral Spirit and Ascendance, which also can deal very good amount of damage. So again, once his all defensive cooldowns are burst, all the heals that he had and stuff like that, then you want to do the hard burst with this spec and, you know, just pump him very hard, and in most situations he's going to be dying. And this is my favorite spec to play in arena when I'm playing with as a double DPS, and especially with the Retribution Paladin, because we both make the soft burst and a hard burst, and then we go for a kill at the beginning. If it doesn't work, we try again a minute later, and you know, with the Doomwinds, every minute you can go for a kill with these three in combination: Bloodlust, the Trinket, and the Doomwind's legendary. So that's the reason why this legendary was almost the whole Shadowlands my favorite, and you know why I liked it so much in arena. It doesn't have the consistent damage as Witch Doctor Wolf's Bone, but I did talk about that in a lot of my previous videos, so if you want you can check them out. So yeah, that's pretty much how I'll play with this legendary and the talent combination. So the thing that I forgot to mention about the Witch Doctor's Wolf's Bones before is that if you are playing some arena or battleground, when you are having some melees around you, make sure to always, before the fight starts, use your Wind Fury Totem just to give them a chance for an extra attack, and then of course start with your regular rotations such as Flame Shock and, you know, stuff that I said earlier. Also, if you're fighting multiple target, which is mostly case in a battleground, and it is the case in arena again, because you always want your Frost Shock, Flame Shock on all the enemies, so your Chain Harvest cooldown reset more quicker, is that when you do the Flame Shock, you always want to start then with the Lava Lash, just to spread around on all the enemies your Flame Shock, and then you go back to the regular rotation, following with the Storm Strike, Lava Lash, and stuff like that, blah blah blah. And also about the Sundering, I kinda like to use it as a second interrupt, because it incapitates your enemy for 2 seconds, so I kinda divide my interrupts on two. One is a Windshear and one is Sundering, and wind share, you know, is much lesser cooldown, so I use it more frequently, especially if you get him in the cast, you are locking him from that spell zone, which is very good. But when I use that, or if I miss that, I always make sure to have my Sundering go off cooldown, and not that it only deals pretty decent amount of damage, but it will only do a little interrupt. And if you are tower and you have the third interrupt, which is War Stomp, which I always say for those situations, so you know, in case I'm fighting some holy paladin, he's trying to bait me and he manages to bait my wind share, then I have the Sundering for an X, that I have War Stomp, and then he will panic and he will use his bubble or either the other very good healing cooldowns. So all you need to is just to wait for it to expire, to wait this 30-40 seconds for your Sundering, and you know, you can go again for the kill, because of course your wind share will be off cooldown. So yeah, that's pretty much about the Shaman rotations. I really think that I covered pretty much everything, the basic rotation, the burst, how it's go, and you know, stuff like that. In case I missed something, of course, feel free to comment down below, I will gladly answer you. Again, please subscribe if you like the video and content of my channel overall, and thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one.